So it's what day is it? Tuesday afternoon, and gosh, it feels like Thursday already. It's kind of been. Well, I worked on Sunday. I had a lot of work to catch up on, so it feels like I'm sort of like, it's later than the week than it is. But it's I don't know, what's the time? Let me have a look. Oh, it's 5:15. So I'm just here on the couch. Dinner's organised because I made a chicken and leek pie yesterday, and so that will do us for tonight, so that's good. And I've made that lemon slice, and I'm gonna ice that soon, so that will be also good. And we'll probably have a piece of that with a cup of tea after dinner. Do you do that? Do you have something sweet at night? I really like something sweet at night. So I've been just sitting here watching Rondell Designs. She's a vlogger from Australia who vlogs all about her. She has an art business, ceramics and prints and cards and stuff like that. And she does all the markets, and she vlogs about it, so you get to see behind the scenes of making all the stuff, but also her going to the markets and the setup and the bumping in and bumping out, or whatever they call it. I just find it fascinating. I love behind the scenes peeks into people's ordinary lives, and the amount of work that goes into being a one person band when you're making physical products. I find it extraordinary, the amount of work that goes into it, and so I'm a great admirer of Rondell and what she manages to do. So I've just been watching her latest vlog. What's it called? Juggling Deadlines and Creativity, a week running my handmade art and then it's cut her off. I'm sure it's art and ceramics business or something like that. So I've just been sitting here doing having a cup of tea and watching that. And I'm doing a whole lot of manuscript assessments at the moment. So what I do is I open up 10 places usually. Once every now and then, I open up 10 places and I write to her on my newsletter, and I let them know that I've got 10 spaces available for picture book manuscript assessments. And then I usually give them a 2-month sort of deadline. It's a very rough deadline to get the manuscript to me. So I don't say you have to have it to me tomorrow or next week or anything like that. So it gives people lots of warning, and they can perfect their manuscript before they send it to me, and I don't get any rushed sort of things. People put effort into it, and everybody I work with is gorgeous, and they're all really professional, and the community's beautiful, so I don't have to worry about the quality, which it is a real thing. When I was working in-house as an editor, the quality of a lot of children's books, just from the greater community, can be appalling, and it can be really soul destroying after a while when you get story after story after story that's just written off the top of the head, and people who don't care, who just think they can write a children's book for the hell of it, or they're just chasing money. Good luck with that. But in a community like mine that's curated and everyone's got skin in the game, and they've been around. Usually a lot of them have been around me and my coaching for a long time too, so they're way ahead of the game. So their manuscripts are always gorgeous, so it's really enjoyable to work on them. But what often happens is, because I give that long deadline, sometimes I'll get a couple early when I first open the places, but then usually, because of human nature, most people leave it to the last minute. So I usually get bang, 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 a heap of manuscripts all around the same time. And it takes me quite a while to do an assessment. So, and I need to be really awake. You know, I never go to these things tired or you know, with energy low, because I won't be able to do my best job. And I'm not just assessing them, I'm contributing. You know, I see myself as contributing to the creation of the story. I'm bringing it to the next level, helping them develop it, and that requires ideas, and that requires me really engaging with the story. So that's why I don't rush through manuscript assessments. I give them my best energy. So yeah, so now, like this afternoon, I'm beyond looking at anyone's work. I'm beyond anything. I'm just here on the couch having a cuppa and waiting for the second wind. But you know, I never work on manuscripts at night. It's always sort of usually early in the morning or early afternoon is my best times to do that. So that's what's happening here on a Tuesday afternoon. I think this is going to be like one of those week in the life of vlogs. So we'll see what the next episode brings. That lemon is just so juicy. I cut it in half and lemon juice just went everywhere. It was like a champagne bottle. Because I think, you know, that when you get lemons from the farmers markets, they're just, because they're organic and they haven't been trucked around or anything. Anyway, I've got to put the camera down while I put this icing sugar in here, but I'm just making lemon icing. So I melted some butter and I'm going to squirt lemon juice into it, and the icing sugar and tiny bit of water, and mix it all up, and then that will be really yummy icing. Too easy. I always mix my icing with a knife, and I particularly like these old bone-handled knives for mixing icing. I don't know why. They're just the right consistency. That's looking yummy, yummy, yum. I forgot to mention that I do use a bit of lemon extract as well, as the lemon juice just gives it an extra bit of zing. Okay, now back into the fridge, and that will set, and then I'll cut it once it's set. So it'll probably be at least an hour before it's set. I just realised I hadn't shown you the lemon slice, so we've already been into it. But there it is. See how little it is? It's not high. I don't know why lemon slices that you buy in cafes are so huge. It takes me 3 days to eat one. They're like this high. But a real lemon slice that you make with, you know, Marie biscuits as the paste, you just crush them up with some butter and then add some condensed milk and lemon. They're not that big. They're not that thick. And they're just a nice little sweet treat. Anyway, I sound like a crotchety old lady, don't I? That's my lemon slice. I kept pushing the camera. I kept pushing the camera further and further back, and it reminded me of remember Tootsie with Dustin Hoffman, that really old film from the 80s? I practically memorised that film because I just love it, and I think the storytelling in it's really, really expert, like off the charts expert storytelling. And so I studied it a lot back in the day because I was studying narrative arcs and stuff like that. And there's this little bit in Tootsie where they keep pulling the camera back to try and supposedly make, you know, Dustin Hoffman's character look a little bit softer. and the guy behind the camera says, the director says, how far can you pull it back? And the guy behind the camera says, well, what about we try Cleveland? Anyway, it was very funny. And I was just thinking that when I was pushing the camera back and back and back, I was thinking, how about Cleveland? We push this back to Cleveland. Hello to our American viewers, by the way. It's November, mid-November. Can you tell me, my beautiful Australians, is it too early to start eating Christmas cake? Because I just was down the street and I was gas bagging to various people. And then I went to the butcher's actually to buy some fish, because we get fish once a week here in the country. It's delivered once a week. And I went to buy some fish, and they had Lions Club Christmas cakes, which are sort of like a charity here in Australia that they raise money with their Christmas cakes for charity. And they had them in, and I thought, I don't think it's too early to buy a Lions Club Christmas cake and start eating it, is it? So, bon appetit, that's what I've just been doing. That's a tail end, and this is how much of my Lions Club Christmas cake is left, my love. I'm sorry, I didn't save you any. Maybe next time you drop in, we'll have a piece together. All right, so what have I been doing? So today I've been doing a lot of close work. So I've been doing manuscript assessments again and getting along with those. So that's been really good. And I also revisited, cough button, sorry. I revisited one of my own stories, the 6th story in a 7-story project that I'm working on. So I hadn't looked at that story for a couple of months. I always tell everybody who's a writer, if you're a writer and you're watching this, please, please, please always leave your work and give it some air, give it a break before you do the sort of final edit on it, before you send it anywhere. So I had let that one sit for at least a month. I'd say it's more than a month since I've looked at it. It might even be 2 months. So I opened that up this morning and had a look at that and just did a really light edit. I was really happy it didn't need anything major, and I still really enjoyed the story. It was, in a way, it was, bits of it were kind of new to me. So that's always great when you've actually forgotten, you know, great swathes of what you wrote, and then you go back and you enjoy it. You can kind of read it more as a reader rather than as a writer. So that was good. So I've done some close editing on that. I've been down the street, and as I said, and I've caught up with a few people. I've checked in on the wool shop where I'm working tomorrow, and all's going well in there without me. Can you believe it? But we've got a whole lot of new stuff in, so I might actually be able to get that on camera, some of that on camera tomorrow, because there's more and more interesting things coming in. Not that wool's not interesting, but at this time of the year, you need to supplement the stock with other stuff. It's getting too warm for people to be too involved in their knitting. So other things have been coming in. As you've seen, I've shown you that there's been felt Christmas decorations, and we sell a lot of skincare products as well, and home, like natural products as well, and baskets and things like that. So anyway, there's new stock, things for me to do tomorrow, things for me to mark up, things for me to arrange, to make it all pretty. So that will be fun. I've also done 3 or 4 loads of washing, so they're all happily flapping on the line. I just love seeing washing on the line, don't you? We have our old traditional Hills hoist cemented into the backyard. It's going nowhere. Trust me, that it's not going anywhere. If you're not an Australian, you may not know what a Hills hoist is. It's basically a clothesline. It looks like a big umbrella without the fabric. And the Hills hoist is iconic in Australia. And they were invented, I think, don't quote me on this, I could Google it, but I think around the 1940s. The one that we've got, I think, is stamped 1940 or late 1930 something, made in Melbourne. And the winder on the one that I've got is fused. It's so old that it's fused, because I think it would be 60, clothesline might be 70 years old. So, they stand the test of time, the Hills hoists, and they're fabulous. But yeah, it is fused, so can't move it up and down, but that's okay. I can still reach okay, and just hang out my washing. So, and I'm just loving looking at the line at the moment because there's pretty things on it, you know, doona cover and some, you know, some nice shirts. And I don't know, washing just makes me really happy. I know that Irish people get excited when there's a washing day. You know, if you live in a country where it rains all the time, you know, getting your washing out and dried can be a really, yes, you know, it's a moment of victory. So yeah, whereas in Australia, we get quite a lot of sunshine, so it's not that bad. Although in the middle of winter, things can get a bit dire. So there's we have a lot of clothes horses that we hang around at various parts of the house. We're always trying to dry stuff when it's wet and cold. But anyway, so that's happening. And so yeah, so it's been a day of home stuff and work stuff and editing and writing. And now I'm just going to take a little break and work on another spread in my Altered Children's book. And I thought I'd bring you with me. And I was thinking about how, you know, people learn and get inspired in different ways. But I know that the way that I do make art is, you know, I'm not an art teacher, I'm not any of those things. So when you come here, you just kind of get whatever you get. Whatever I'm doing, I will share it with you to the best of my ability. But there's no structure to the way that I share my knowledge. It's quite chaotic. My creative process is very intuitive and quite chaotic. So I do hope that that's not daunting for you. But I am today, weirdly, I have put some thought into the spread that I'm going to work on today, and you'll see when I turn the camera around that I've actually created all the pieces, and I've played with them already in terms of design in advance. So rather than just sitting down and then sort of madly, you know, sifting through things and chopping and changing, I've actually done some prelim work. And that just came about accidentally. I was sharing the studio with David. He was working on a video that he had to create for his work, and I couldn't really get into a good flow. And so I just started doing a few little drawings and cutting out a few little things, just easy stuff, and then just starting to play with it. But I'll show you. I'll turn the camera around and you'll know what I mean in terms of this is a little bit more structured. And it might help, you know, those of you who are daunted by my chaotic process and want something a little bit more measured, you might enjoy this. I don't know, but let me know in the comments, you know, what your process is like. I'm always fascinated by other people's creative processes and their writing processes, of course. But yeah, how do you create? Do you go about it in a very planned and structured way, or do you just, you know, wait for that burst of energy and just hop in there and see what happens? Do you go to it sometimes with a lazy, you know, attitude of just see what's going to happen? One of the videos that I made recently about creating when you're tired, that video went absolutely nutso. I don't, like, at the point of recording this, it's had like 8,000 views, which is huge for this little tiny channel. So maybe lots of people are interested in creating when they're tired. I don't know. I don't know why that, you know, YouTube is the dark art of YouTube. People try to figure out how it works, but at the end of the day, we don't really know. Anyway, so that video about creating when you're tired, I'll link it at the end. It's done really, really well. So anyway, let me get back to this Altered Children's book. I might try to link that somewhere as well, so you know, you have a choice. Because it'd be nice if you knew the beginnings of this Altered Children's book as well. So without further ado, I am going to turn the camera around and we'll get started on this little spread, because the whole point of this is just to have a little bit of relaxation in the middle of the day, and then, you know, just a bit of downtime, so then I can go back and do a little bit more. I've got to write an editor's report before the day is over, but for now I just thought I might have a little bit of playtime. You know, when we're at school, we used to call it well, isn't it interesting how when you get older and you get to high school, we would call our breaks recess. But when we were kids at primary school, our breaks were called playtime. Isn't that interesting? The older you get, the more serious you get. And I know that in New South Wales and that I think they might have called playtime little lunch. But for us here in Victoria, it was always called playtime. And I remember as a when we transitioned from primary school to high school, I remember having to remind myself that it was recess. I was a big girl now. I was 12. I had to remember that it was no longer playtime. It was recess. Isn't that weird? And I also remember, I'm going off on a tangent here, but I do remember those first few weeks at high school, there was no monkey bars. Like, there were no monkey bars, there were no swings, there was nowhere to play. Suddenly, we just had to sit around and talk or work on our projects or get up to mischief, idle hands. It was once we got to high school, playtime was out the window. Things got serious. So that's an interesting thing, isn't it? It's about our attitude towards having a break and having a play gets weeded out of our psyches really, really young. Anyway, we're going to plant playtime back in our brains here on this channel. All right, let me turn you around and we'll see how we go. I thought that was a glue stick, but it's a paint marker. I'm not as organised as I thought I was. Where's my other glue stick? This one's had it. Glue stick, where art thou? Okay. Now I remember that I had figured out a little bit of this, so I'm going to, don't have to muck around too much because I've already given it a bit of thought, so I'm going to pop this in. Keep working away until I'm happy with how it all looks. And I remember I cut out these little triangles because I wanted to make some bunting for across the top, across here. So I might just go ahead and do that. I think this ballet rabbit's going to go on this side of the spread. I think that's how it was going to work. Oops. This is going to be a mat somewhere. It does feel like it's going to be some kind of a cafe. I'm pretty sure So I'm going to turn the camera off now because I can't get it, it's in my way and I can't sort of get stuck in with the camera there with the tripod. I'm going to trip it over. So I'll turn off the camera now and then I'll bring you back when I've got a few more pieces. But you can just see this is what I'm going to be doing, just placing things and seeing what kind of makes sense in a nonsensical way, and just sort of placing it all together here in Studio Mud Boots. I have a spare rabbit. He can go on the next page. So I have a page left, a few more pages left yet. I'm having a lovely morning. A woman came in earlier and she had done an entire Noah's Ark. She'd knitted all the animals and made the ark. I'm not sure how she made the ark, but whether that was knitted as well. Not an effective boat. But anyway, she had all these photos of all these little, there were zebras and there were crocodiles, were hilarious, and sheep and giraffes. All of them were about this big, so they weren't tiny, they were quite, but they were just spectacular. I just love how enthusiastic people get when they come into the shop. It's just lovely.
I've had a really lovely day at work, and I've just been out for a coffee, and I'm going to whiz home now and edit this video. I can't do it any other time because tomorrow I'm going to Bendigo. People in Bendigo is the closest town to us, but everyone in town here calls it Spendigo because it's kind of where you go to spend money. Yeah, so I've got to go to Spendigo tomorrow to go to the optometrist, but although there's a Bonds shop there, so I need some new t-shirts. God, I'm so adventurous, aren't I? Anyway, I might do that. I was looking in the back there, you can see that great big swathe of wood. I bought a whole lot of wood to cut up. I had some of it cut to order, actually. I made some of my little little panels that I paint. I made one big painting with them. I glued them on. I'll see if I can find that, and you've seen it. It's the one with the bear and the coffee cups. Anyway, it's all mounted now onto some wood, so I've got that wood in the back seat. I've got to unpack that. But yeah, so I'll go home and I'll do this and get this uploaded this evening so that it's in your inbox. Well, it's not really that, is it? It'll be coming to you tomorrow morning, Friday morning, while I'm in Spendigo. Alrighty.